Hello, I'm Cortez Ransom, the host of the C Note, where we keep it 100 and the real, not real. We also see you fake asses out there too, coming to you tonight with season 2, episode 6, with my very special guest, Mr. Dajo Nzechukwu. He should be joining me in a minute. He is right there, right there. He should be coming on the screen with me momentarily. Come on through, come on through. Um, yeah, send me the request. Did you send me the request to join? Can you hear me? Send it, the request to join. Yeah, yeah, send me a request to join the screen like you did yesterday. Yeah, hit the request button. Did you hit the request button? I'm trying to get you on here. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, Sheree? Jerry? There we go. Finally, what the hell
Okay,
is going on there? I
I
don't
am.
see you.
Let me see. I'm gonna try to turn my camera around.
Okay, okay. Please do, because the audience wants to see you, sir.
Whew, we
How are
made
you?
it.
Yes, we did. All right now. All right. Glad to see you here. Glad
I
to
have to
see
put my
you.
glasses on so I can see y'all.
Hey, you see us?
Hold on.
You had to put your glasses on. You can see us. Hey, people waving and everything. Hey, well, we have here Mr. Dajo Nzechukwu, who is the artist formerly known as G. Carlos, just like Prince. But I'm just going to tell you a few things about him because if I were to read, see, I told this brother here to send me a short bio, right? Like a paragraph and a half or 2 paragraphs. Now, he sent me this long bio, and I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, that is my short bio." So, if I was to read all this brother's accomplishments, we will be here until next Tuesday. So, I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis so we can get into this interview. He's originally from Houston, Texas, and he found that growing up in an international city such as that inspired him to get into the theatrical arts and so forth, which he started as young as in grade school. Um, from there, you continued to get into music and singing and dance, and you went to New York on a full scholarship with the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater of Harlem. This brother
Just
here.
Alvin Ailey. Dance Theater Harlem is a whole different company.
Okay, I thought that's what it was called before. Wasn't it
It's
once called
okay.
that at one time? I thought it was called that at one time. My bad.
The Alvin
But
Ailey American Dance Center.
it was always called that. It was never called the Dance Theater of Harlem.
No.
I
Um,
thought it was at one time. Okay.
yeah, the Dance Theater of Harlem was actually in Harlem, but Alvin
Okay.
Ailey's studio was right off of Broadway.
I don't know
Yeah,
why I thought his was called that. Okay.
two
Well,
different masters.
well, you are someone who has performed with that great legacy of a dance theater, dance company, and you have also you're a composer. You're registered with BMI and ASCAP. You have recorded songs with different artists. You have worked with the great one and only King of Pop, Michael Jackson. Um, you've done a whole lot, and you've been teaching children for the past 40 years and bringing the arts to the youth, which is very important. Definitely. But you and I, we first met back in 2013 when I came to DC to audition for a play that was called The Penis Monologues, written by a certain gentleman, which some people may know from his book on the down low, J.L. King. And I was cast in that play, The Penis Monologue. So that's how I met you back then. And when I met you back then, I didn't know that you had all this going on with being a singer and a dancer, a singer in all genres at that. You know, you sing any type of music, including opera. And you have an extensive dance resume as well. You do jazz, ballet, disco, house, what's it? South African dance, West African dance. I'm going to ask you the difference between those. And then there's something that I never heard of, which is called the Dunham technique. So what is the difference between the, as far as the movement and the technique in it and all, between the South African dance and the West African dance? And then tell me, what is the Dunham technique exactly?
Okay, well, South African, when you think of South Africa and you think of dance, you think of the Zulus, right? Shaka, King Shaka. He was the king of the Zulus, right? And so, you know, that kingdom is a very, very, very old kingdom. And history has it that the Bantu people, mostly all black people, have Bantu in them. But it's, you know, we hear that human history came out of East Africa, right? So this isn't a history lesson, but then, you know, those melanated people spread. They spread north and west. But like I said, the South Africans have an old history. And the Zulu dance, if you've seen them with the, I don't want to go into describing it, but we remember Sarafina that came to the States. And prior to Sarafina was the first South African musical troupe to ever come to America. It's called Ipitombi. They came to Caesar's Palace and they sold out. It was an immediate hit, sold out every night. But this was in the mid to late 70s, and they defected because apartheid was still going on. And so I'm kind of giving you the history. You didn't ask me for all that, but I ended up dancing with those group of people as a teenager. But the dance is based primarily around the war. So it's just like you hear of capoeira. It was really a martial art, but it was masked as a dance. And so the South Africans, they were practicing using those movements, but it became, you know how black people, they do very interesting things. And they made it a whole musical. And so, yeah, a lot of, so that was actually my first live introduction to dance. A West African dance, we know there's a lot of hip movements. Twerking came out of that. So twerking is not new. I'm sorry, kids. No, twerking is not new.
Twerking is not new, but they turned it into something totally different over here.
Absolutely. In West Africa, we know is extremely diverse. You know, the Congo region, the Guineas. You know, you know, where the slave trade things happen, and a lot of that West African dance translated to the Caribbean and South America, like in Cuba, Haiti, Brazil, and a lot of it is Yoruba. And so they kept those dances. You can go to any one of those islands and trace it right back to West Africa. And so that would lead me into Dunham technique. Miss Dunham was one of our first African-American dance pioneers, but she started as an anthropologist.
What is her first name?
Catherine Dunham. Yeah, she's from actually Joliet, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago. Born in 1900, I think 1909, if I want to be correct. So she's been around for a while, and she is the reason why we have Eartha Kitt. She's the one that choreographed Stormy Weather,
Oh,
Cabin in the Sky.
wow. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
all of that
Lena
came
Horne and
from,
all that.
they call her
Okay.
the mother of African American dance. The first person that we saw um, have a multicultural group on stage. And so she has a long history, but I had the privilege of studying underneath her, you know, coming out of high school. But right before I went to Ailey's, and I would credit the training with her, um, gave me that boost I needed to make it,
Hey.
you know, as a full scholarship student with Alvin Ailey.
Yeah. Okay. Um, you know, I could dance a little bit at one time, back when I
At
was
one
17
time,
years old. Well, I could still do something, but not, look, when I was 17 years old, I took a dance class at this local community college, Catonsville Community College, and the dance instructor and different people was like, because I caught on the choreography quick back then, and she wrote a letter of recommendation for me to go to this school in New York, but of course my mom wouldn't let me go because I had led kind of a sheltered life because I hadn't been hanging out in the streets and stuff like that. I was in the house all the time. If I wasn't in school, I was in the house. So she didn't want me to go up to big bad New York by myself because she figured they would chew me up and spit me out. So she wouldn't let me go. But anyway, there you have it. But
I can relate.
yeah, um, and it probably would have happened like that. But I'm still kind of disappointed that I didn't get to go. But I wanted to. So your name, it's a Nigerian name, correct?
It is.
And what does it mean exactly? And,
So
and what made you
Dajo
take that
is
name?
actually, yeah, it's both Dajo and Nzechukwu. Um, the first name Dajo is actually Yoruba,
Hmm.
and it basically it translates to George. Okay, so we
Okay.
know, you know, you kind of
Oh, okay.
define those names as, you know, royalty, king, all that kind of
P,
stuff. And
somebody speaking to us. I think that's one of your friends. I don't recognize that name. I can't
I
help it.
don't know China Doll, but
Oh, maybe I
peace
do.
to you.
Yeah, I do. Hey, I know it's a lot of people. Well, go ahead. What were you saying about the name?
Yeah, Nzechukwu is actually where my people are from, South Nigeria, in Imo
Okay.
State. IMO, Imo. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I found out that I have Nigerian blood too, and I believe that's in there as some roots in Cameroon and Mali. I also found that I had some Caribbean roots as well, which
Wow.
I didn't know until like a couple of years ago. And it's funny because people would always ask me, was I from the Caribbean? They talk about my eyes or whatever, look like I'm Caribbean or whatever. I'm like, no, that I know of. But I found out like 2 years ago that we actually have roots in Barbados, right?
Mhm.
And it's funny that my first film that I wrote, the family in there is like a black American family that have roots in Barbados. But I had no idea, knowing that I actually have island roots as well, Caribbean roots as well. So that was really funny to find out. Now, how old were you when you got accepted to Alvin Ailey, and
I was
how did that make you? Go ahead.
I was 20 years old. Yeah, I was
Okay.
old then.
Now, oh, whatever. That's not old, but that's just the state of mind. But knowing how well known this company is, and what it would mean to get into that, how did that make you feel to get that notice that they were giving you a full scholarship, and that means that they really thought highly of you. Uh,
It was, oh my God, it was everything because I mean I had seen the Ailey Company um in my dance studies. You know, we learned about Mr. Ailey, um, and we knew that it was a premier African American dance company in the world, not only
right.
just in, you know, in America. And they just made great strides in touring the world.
Hmm.
Left us with the legacy called Revelations. I think everyone
Okay.
have seen Revelations. People that didn't know
Yeah.
anything about dance has fallen in love with dance after seeing Revelations. Um, and so, yeah, fast forward after only 4.5, 5 years of study, I decided to leave my home and take a chance. I'm like, I'm going to do this.
So
I'm not going to say I wish I had done it. I packed all my bags, got a one-way ticket,
and you
showed
didn't
up.
know anyone there?
I'm
Okay,
like, this
everybody
is
was
it.
total strangers.
This,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
look back, I'm like, who in the hell was that kid? He was crazy. You
No,
know,
no, no. You gotta take. You have to take
I don't think
chances.
I don't even have that gravity now, you know?
Yeah, you have to take chances in life to make stuff happen. Definitely, you know. Or else,
Absolutely. You know, and great things do happen when you put yourself on the line like that. You know,
right.
so I learned a lot from that kid called me.
Called you.
Yeah. And so this is the thing. I made that audition. I'm like, and they were like, well, can you start Monday? I'm like, no, because I was in a contract
Wow.
in
Okay.
Texas. I had just
Hmm.
left Miss Dunham in East St. Louis, Illinois, because I was studying with her too at the time. And
Right.
I'm like, I can't start Monday. I had no idea we were going to start Monday, first of all. I'm
Hmm.
like, they said, well, you can come back the next season to audition.
Hmm.
And audition again. I'm like, oh my God. That audition was not easy either, first of all. I'm like, I'm freaking out. Because I had never been to anything of that magnitude, right?
Well,
And
of course, it
so
wasn't going to be easy. It's Alvin Ailey, of course.
I finished my
It has to
contract
be.
out. I got back on the plane, went back to New York, but I had gotten cast in Kiss Me Kate at our big theater,
Okay. Wow. I've
our
heard of it.
theater there.
Hmm.
Yeah, our big Equity House theater as an actor, right? And
Hmm.
so I'm thinking, okay, acting, concert, dance, you know. And so I didn't hear from them. And a lot of my colleagues were like, don't worry about it. You got it. You got it. I'm like, yeah. And so my audition was coming back up. Flew to New York. By the grace of the universe, I made the audition again. I got a phone call saying that I made the,
Hmm.
I was, you know, I got the audition for Kiss Me Kate in, at the Alley Theater. And so I said, nah, I'm good. I'm here already. So that started my my trek and you know, my New York experience. You know, every artist, one of the things they strive for is to have the New York experience, and
Hmm.
that was the beginning of it. Yeah.
Okay. So I know that you started performing in childhood, which the arts have always been a part of me too. Now, which art came to you first? Was it singing? Was it dance? Was it acting? Because for me, I knew I could sing since I was like 5 or 6 years old, only because people kept telling me that when I was little. You have a voice or whatever, and I could hear it, and then I got into acting, and then did some dance or whatever. So, which one was the first for you? Which art spoke to you first, or was it all at once, or everything?
No, I would have to say dance because I've always danced as much as I can remember.
Hmm.
But as far as my first exhibition, it was both singing and dancing.
Okay.
I'll never forget, it was a talent show at the Boys Clubs of America. And I sang Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. I
Oh
was in
wow,
the,
that's one of my favorite.
I was in the
Marvin Gaye
second
is one.
grade.
Wow,
My mother's like, why you
singing
want to
that
sing
song.
that song? Why you want to sing that song? Oh,
Yeah,
baby, let's get it.
yeah.
Because it sounds good. You know, I don't know.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, I
that's
was
one
an
of my
old soul then.
that's one of my favorite artists.
Oh my
I've been putting it
gosh.
out. I've been putting it out there. I want to play Marvin. I
Well,
have
look,
played him
I
before.
didn't.
I I played him before in a local play, but I want to play him in a movie or something. That's what I
Right,
want to do.
right.
You know. And I also know that you're a writer as well. So did you start writing in childhood as well, or did that happen later, as far as like writing scripts and writing songs? Because I started writing songs and plays when I was like 9 or 10 years old. That's when I started writing.
You know what? I didn't start as far as like putting the lyrics and music, being a lyricist. That didn't
Mm-hmm.
come until later after um, my New York years, and there's a whole story between that because I found out I broke my back when I was in New York,
Oh, wow.
right before I got
Okay.
to Ailey's actually, before I got to the Ailey school. Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. That's
You
a lot of people don't know
broke
that.
your back
I broke my back. I fractured my back, and I knew there was something wrong. I didn't know what it was.
performing?
Yes, I was doing a video in Texas, and that's when it happened. Um, and then I got into church. As I mean, I retired. My first time I was 21, and I retired
Wow. Okay.
from dancing because I didn't want to be crippled. And I started going to this small Pentecostal church, and I mentioned that I had a little bit of piano, and they threw me on this big B3 organ. Next thing you know, I'm a music minister. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's part of my life.
So
And
you.
I started learning how to play by ear.
Hmm.
It was a really interesting experience. Music just started coming to me, but I always
That's
had that music in me,
well. That's a gift if you could. That's definitely a
and it
gift if you
just
can play
started
by
coming
ear
out.
like that.
And then lyrics started coming. But prior to that,
Hmm.
um, my mother, and I think this is where it started. My mother used to read to me, and I would
Okay.
always hear her say that, when you read to your babies, they're going to be very, very smart, but that translates into how their brain is wired. They're going to regurgitate that, the way that they speak. I didn't, as a dancer, a lot of dancers don't feel comfortable speaking lines on stage, but it
Okay.
was, I think, those foundations that really, my mother planted that seed, and hearing her read and hearing her, the intonation of her voice, and she was very, I look back, she was a really good storyteller. Um, and
Very
but I was
expressive. Yeah.
extremely shy, but all of that stuff that
Yeah.
started pouring out when I got into creative spaces. Yeah, so parents, read to
Yeah.
your babies.
Yes. Please do. And I know I'm very extremely shy myself. Um, I've gotten better over the years, but I used to go into auditions like literally shaking like a leaf. I would be so self-conscious and nervous going into an audition. Now I'm a little bit more confident with that, but I used to be terrified going into auditions. So you retired from dance, but you eventually got back into it.
I
So,
did.
so,
How did that
so what brought
happen?
that about? Yeah, yeah.
So at the time, I was my roommate, who happened to be from DC originally, and so I met him studying with Miss Dunham in East St.
Hmm.
Louis, and so um, he was like, come and stay with me because I'm not going to have you staying in some Y downtown, some cruddy place, which was a Sloan House Y, has a lot of history in New York,
Yeah,
but they have
I can
hostels as
imagine.
well.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Everybody's gone through the Y. Actually, that's where Miss Dunham presented. Mr. Ailey presented his company the first time. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. He's like, come and stay with me. He was one of the admins for um, the radio and television, so AFTRA, that union,
Okay.
AFTRA, right, which is for radio, television artists.
Hmm.
And so he brings home a flyer. Remember, I'm I'm retired. I'm like, I ain't trying to kick my legs up. I was enjoying my rum raisin pint of ice cream every
You
night.
really? You done got
Yes.
lazy. All right.
He
Okay.
brings home a flyer that says, Michael Jackson is going to be in town holding auditions. Don't you want to
Oh,
go?
see, I was gonna bring that up.
I'm
But you
like, no,
going
I
into it.
don't want to go. I'm not doing this thing no more.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I know you want to go. I'm like, And
I
so
mean, how could you not want to? You got a chance to audition for the Michael Jackson.
I
I mean,
was,
come on, man.
I had just found out that my back was fractured,
Okay.
and that whole thing was, I ended up finishing my contract with the local dance company, because when I left Ailey's, I actually joined another
Okay. All right. So you
company.
said you just okay. So you said you just found out your back was fractured, right? Before the audition
Yeah, I
for
saw
that.
X-rays, and I saw there was a hole where one of
Okay.
my
So,
vertebrae
so,
should have been.
so
I'm like,
how long was the period of time before when you said you first broke your back, and then when you found out your back was fractured before the Michael Jackson
it was
audition?
about a year.
Okay.
I knew that something something wasn't right, and like I couldn't move forward. And I went to the chiropractor. He did X-rays, and that's when I found out. I'm like, oh my God! It was like literally, I'm a walking miracle. You know, that I just didn't snap in half. And so I'm like,
Wow.
okay, that's it. And I just dedicated all myself to all of my time and energy into the ministry. You know, playing music, and I came in reading and all of that stuff. But I became pretty much, I wouldn't say accomplished. I don't even feel like I've accomplished, you know, as a dancer or an actor.
What?
But you know, I've done a whole lot more. Yeah.
You've done a lot. You've accomplished a lot.
I've reached some stairs and some peaks, but yeah.
Okay, so
I got a whole lot to learn still.
well, we are always. So this audition, you didn't go to this particular audition, or was there another audition with Michael Jackson?
No, it was only that weekend. So I missed the first one because I was not going. And
okay, I was trying to find if it was like two different projects. Like he had auditions for one thing and then came back at another period of time.
It was one, but I missed the first date. And so my roommate, he was not letting up on me.
He wasn't letting up on you.
He was like, and I know you want to go.
Aren't you glad he did?
So after some counseling, after much counseling, I said, okay, well, maybe, you know, it'll be a good experience, like you said, if I can meet him, you know. And I say, well, I met Michael Jackson, you know.
Is that Mr. Excuse me?
So I'm with the second.
Is that Mr. Alan Sharp? Hey, Alan Sharp. I think that's Alan Sharp. You know Alan.
I can't see a thing.
Alan, you know Mr.
Yeah. So
Alan Sharp. Okay. You know Alan Sharp?
Yes. I actually I did some work with Alan. Hey, Alan. During COVID, a couple of his plays online. Okay. We got creative during COVID, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah. I did a couple of play readings online as well. But go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I went to the audition and it was a cattle call. Oh my God, it must have been, I don't know, 300 more people. And I can imagine how many people were there the first day.
Yeah, I know there had to be a lot for a Michael Jackson audition.
Let me tell you, they danced us down. You hear me? The back broke back or not, you had to get it in. You know, you couldn't be looking all crazy.
And obviously, you impressed them because you got in there.
Wait a minute. So they had a callback. I'm like, oh no, I had to go through this again. So they called. I don't know how many people from my group, maybe 20. And so we got called back, and so they had callbacks from the first day, callback from the second audition from mine. Then we had another one. They cut. And so we came back, I think a third time, and went through this whole thing again, and we were told to wait in a room. I don't know, I can't remember what this place was, but it must have been a hotel or something. But we were in this room, and this little side room could close, and then they had mirrors. So we were there kind of trying to keep warm, because, you know, as a dancer, you have to keep your body warm, you know, to be able, you know, to be able to just segue into performance level, right? And so we're waiting and waiting and waiting. It seemed like about a half hour. We're like, this is crazy. One guy was like, this is unprofessional. And I think one person left, and we started packing up. Right at that moment, one of the mirror panels opened, and Quincy Jones walks in, Mr. Jones. Oh, shit. And he said, and he apologized. He's like, guys, I'm so sorry. You know, we want to apologize. We know that you've been waiting. We're like, he's like, but I do have good news for you. Welcome, you guys have all made, you know, bad or whatever.
That's and right, so we were like, ladies and gentlemen.
We were almost so over it that we couldn't even be happy. But it sunk in. We're like, oh, damn. We really gonna do this thing, right?
So, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this man right here was one of the featured dancers in the Bad video, the famous, iconic Bad video with Michael Jackson. Go watch that video, and you might be able to spot him in there. You should be able to spot him in there. Of course, he was like, what? You were, well, that was a long time ago, so. But you still look the same.
I was a gangster B-boy, right.
Oh, yeah, you.
With my Kango and my gazelles.
I'm going to have to go watch that video and see if I can spot you.
So, who knew that video would be that big? You know, I'm like, how can you top Thriller? How can you top Beat It? You know?
Right.
And I don't remember the statistics, but it was, Bad was one of, I don't know if it had sold more. I think Thriller sold more, but it was, I think, the most viewed or something like that. I forget the statistics, so don't quote me. But it's definitely like one of the top three. You know, who knew?
Right. Well,
yeah. So that had happened.
It had the right feel and the right certain to it. You know what I mean? Like when you put out a great project, as an artist, you have to worry about trying to match that or top that. You know, like people been getting on Rihanna, right? Because Rihanna has not released any projects in several years. And they announced, well, they said that she said she's actually working on some music, but she don't want to just throw just anything out there because her last project sold a lot of copies and was like highly regarded. So she's taking her time, you know, working on some new music because she wants to make sure it's just as good, if not better. Yeah. She don't want to put something out there that's not up to the same level or standard as what she did before, which I quite understand that. And so artists put those pressures on themselves when you have a great project and you have to follow that up with something else. So after you were in New York for a while, I know I'm going back and forth with stuff. After you were in New York for a while, you went back to Texas, right, to teach.
Well, I didn't go specifically to teach, but I felt that the ancestors would have me go back to Texas. Primarily, I needed to see about some of my elders. And I kind of revealed, you know, found out later that I was that person, you know. That's my spirit, you know, being the youngest of five, but somehow I'm that person that everybody kind of looks to, you know, for whatever. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of five siblings myself. That I grew up in a household with.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the oldest.
Oh God.
You know, but that's my lot. That is my lot. So I went back to Texas and I started teaching a lot, like all over.
Well, I saw you in your bio that you taught from as young as pre-K all the way up to university ages. So you went from pre-K to college. Yeah.
And it seems like people were waiting for me to get back to Texas. I mean, I didn't have a dull moment. But there was only one of me, but I did my best. Pre-K Spanish, all the way up to, they created the first African American dance program at University of Houston, and they called me to start that. And out of that, I was able to pull actors for my choreographed Dreamgirls at a dinner theater there. So yeah, just a lot of it was like I wouldn't say a training ground, but a training ground as a director, choreographer. It was just a whole different phase of my life. Like everything that I had learned, I was able to, you know, give back, and that was a really it was very fulfilling and joyful to be able to now pass the baton to the next generations, you know. Yeah, a lot of good things came out of that. And then I left Texas again.
Well, I mean, I guess it's a good thing. I would have never met you when I had to come to the audition to D.C. for that play, The Penis Monologues, because that's how I met you. You were holding auditions, and I came to that audition. And I did get a role, you know, which I was very happy about that. you know.
It ain't over. It ain't over.
Well, yeah, I know you're working on that. I know you're working on that. I was about to say something. I don't want to forget what I was going to say. But yeah, a few years ago, did you choreograph as well as perform in Langston Hughes's Black Nativity?
Mm. Shall I tell the truth and shame the devil?
Please tell the truth. Yes.
I was dance captain for that
Okay.
for that
Mm-hmm.
particular musical. And just to set the record, it wasn't Mike Malone's Black Nativity. All of that got locked up when he passed away for several
Okay.
years. But people know that original Black Nativity was Mike Malone of DC found those poems in the
Oh,
upper
okay. Hey,
room in the attic in Caramel House.
I said Langston Hughes.
Yeah, well, he found some of
No, we
Langston's. Some of those things had never been seen because Langston
okay.
spent some time at Caramel House in Cleveland, writing a lot.
Okay. Right.
And Michael Malone actually found Black Nativity was one of the scripts that he had written, and he put it on stage. But and I ended up in Cleveland actually when I left Texas again,
Yeah.
working with Caramel House as an actor and with Cleveland Contemporary as a dancer. Before I went to Chicago. So that was I was Miss Raj, in the Color Museum.
The Color Museum, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that had and a whole lot of other parts.
Yeah,
But I always wanted to do a drag role. I got it.
Oh God.
She said it was a hard choice between me and the other guy, but it was that was fun. And let me tell you, that monologue is the monologue of monologues. It really is the gospel according to Miss Raj. If you can do that monologue, you can do any monologue.
I've seen that play like 3 or 4 different times. So I've seen different actors do it.
Yeah. So I was blessed to do that monologue. And because in my mind I'm primarily a dancer. And, dancers don't talk. So that was
right.
Dancers traditionally they talk with their feet.
Yeah.
That's just culturally that's how it's been in America, at least in the West. There's no dancers don't say stuff. And so to be able to, but I've always loved musical theater. That was my first love. So I sang, as you said, as a child, in choirs, singing Boys of Houston. So classically trained in singing as well. And that just, it set the stage to be able to move into spaces like musical theater, do operas and stuff like that. So
I want to try opera too. You might have to coach me.
Yeah,
I want to try my chop.
Opera's a whole different beast, but I love it. It's beautiful.
I'm not scared. I ain't scared. I got some.
Don't be scared.
I ain't scared at all. I ain't scared at all. But you also recorded with some artists. Your bio said are these known artists that people would know that you recorded with?
It's funny. And a lot of times, because I don't talk about these things unless it's a situation like this. When I was in New York, I was actually still at the Ailey School, and stage manager came. He just happened to show up at Ailey's. I don't know why then, but I think we were between classes, and there was a group of us that were, I don't know, either going to lunch or somewhere, and he asked if any of us sang, and a few of us, we were like, yeah, we sing. Next thing you know, we're at Madison Square Garden singing behind Foreigner. I want to know what love is.
Yeah.
And that was, that was like a famous concert. I look now, I look back, I'm thinking, gosh, that was a big concert for Foreigner. Selling out Madison. We didn't know it was going to sell out, but Foreigner was really, really big back in those days. I composed an entire musical called The Dream of Doors, written by one of Houston's prolific writers, Thomas Melanson. Shout out to Thomas. And recorded with some artists, as well on their record projects and things like that, and gospel, and some in in pop. So yeah, it just yeah, this is my playground. So and just think, I almost became a running back for football.
You you
It was
football.
It was suggested. I did all sports.
Okay, I didn't know that. I didn't
Oh
know
my
you went to
gosh.
sport. Okay,
Yeah.
you
Running, track, swimming, diving, gymnastics. I probably would have been one of the first if I had, trained one of the first in gymnastics, black gymnast, diving, because I was doing that, and I got I think a bronze medal in Junior Olympics in diving.
Right.
Back in the day. But yeah, my energy level was just crazy. But I know why now.
You still got that energy. You still got energy. You still got it. But you said something earlier when you mentioned the ancestors, which I want to talk about. That is going to segue into the whole soul vibration method that we're going to talk about. And the reason why I wanted to talk about the ancestors for a second is because there's this myth out there that some of our people believe that communicating with our ancestors is supposed to be demonic or some crazy mess like that, which shows that we've been separated from our natural connection to the spirit that people call God. So can you please explain the best way you can why it's not demonic to communicate with our ancestors, to be in touch with our ancestors? Because every other group honors their ancestors. They talk about forgetting about our ancestors or believing that crap that it's demonic to communicate with our ancestors. So please, could you speak on that?
Yeah. It's interesting you would use the word demonic.
Well, I've seen people post that online. Some black folks I know who are very heavily into the Christian church make that statement.
Yeah. And well, immediately what comes to mind is when things become demonized, meaning that, and let me back up by saying that when people don't understand something, and sometimes it's out of fear, they try to extinguish it, tear it down, bury it, do whatever they can, because they don't understand it. They don't want to understand because they have a concept that what they know is good enough for them, but also they want to deny you of your freedom and your rights. And you said something also about how every culture, almost every indigenous culture, they honor their ancestors. The Mexicans honor their ancestors. The Indians of Brazil, and of course, everybody on the continent, they honor their ancestors. And we understand that through the passage, we were stripped of everything. Our names, our culture, our languages. And so therefore we have no identity. But but let me tell you, things will reveal itself. This is the time that we're living in right now is we're in the age of Aquarius. And so everything in the dark is coming to light.
Oh, I just saw
things that were hidden,
Mr. Allen
that were buried, that were demonized, it is coming to surface. And we know things about the continent that we have never, ever known. The great discoveries, the great civilizations, energy, electricity was way back during Egyptian times.
They had indoor plumbing and all that way back in those.
Watch this. The colonizers saw that.
I know.
They saw that when they went to the motherland.
Yes.
But if you can, and that brings us to soul vibrations. there's something in our melanin that cannot be stamped out. It is the pure energy that keeps this world turning.
Right.
You talk about the man that was made from the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
It was melanin.
I know.
It's like when you find coal.
The same.
It's the purest form of the diamond, right? It's the roughness.
The same.
Can't stamp it out.
The same. Yes, the same stuff that could be found in the earth itself is in us. You know. And we had a natural connection to the higher power, God, whatever people want to call that higher power. But we've been raised to believe that that power is outside of us when it actually lives within us.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's in everything.
But we've been taught to look at God as some outside entity. That's what people are taught, that in the Christian church, to look at God as something outside of them when God is right there inside of us the whole time. And people look at me like I'm crazy when I talk like that. And then when I also say things like, we are gods and goddesses, and people think you're being blasphemous when you say that, but it actually says that in that Bible, which does have a lot of contradictions in it, but we understand that the Bible was also tampered with. But one of the things it does say in there, it says, know that ye are God. So it's not being blasphemous when we say that. We're not saying that we are God, but we are made in that image. And that God breathed the breath of life into us. So that's what it's about. Now, you made a statement before we get into the soul vibrations in your bio that knowledge is power, but movement is more powerful. That's what you said? Or it's better?
Yeah.
How did you put that?
Yeah.
So what exactly do you mean by that?
You know, a lot of things, as you know, as an artist, you know, just things drop out, and sometimes you better have a pen handy, because you know, if you're like me, I might forget.
Right.
Knowledge in and of itself is just that.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to have mobility. It has to be spread. It has to be shared. You know, and when I think of dance, you know, and dance is one of those gifts that comes directly from our ancestors.
Yes.
All of the arts. It's an anointed form. It's an expression of God. I will say that. It's an expression of God. How do you know God? Through expression.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny that the Bible says of Jesus of Nazareth, he was the express image of an invisible God. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know, the Bible talks there's a lot of symbolism and stuff like that. And it's for those, some of them can never interpret, you know, mm-hmm. But it's not for those that don't want to understand. It's for those that want that hunger and thirst, right? And to have knowledge. And so it's the movement. It's when we could not have had a concept of the empathy of God, of that he understands sadness, fear, suffering, hunger, all of these things that we go through as humans, unless there was movement attached to it, you know, emotion. Yeah. So that's what I say about dance. But it's something about when you move, when you sing, when you're singers, you get that, you also feel, you can feel the presence of the invisible God. Why? Because you're waking God up that's inside of you. Right. Yeah, God is not far off somewhere. We are. And I used to be afraid to say that growing up as a Christian, right? Right. But I realized is that we try to humanize God, but it's the other way around. We are that spirit of the universe having a human experience. Exactly. We're not humans trying to have a godly experience or having Yeah, I get that. I get that now. And we spend a lot of time on that, but soul vibrations is just that. Yeah. So we're going to get into the metaphysical, which means the nature of the brain and how it operates naturally, right? And your soul vibrations also uses the chakra system, right? Which
chakras, it means a wheel or a cycle.
Right, a turning wheel.
And there's 7 different chakras that start from like the middle of the spine to the crown of your head, correct?
Well,
Or
there's 7 basic ones, but the
yeah.
chakra system is vast. It's like
Okay.
over 100.
Okay.
But the 7 basic ones is the root chakra,
Mhm.
which is located between the anus,
Mhm.
and I hope this is okay for your audience. That's where it is.
I thought it started from the spine. That's what I read.
They
I
say
tried to
the
read up
base of
on
the
it, but
spine, but
right, right.
actually, if you think of an axis, right, and because our body's around that
Mm.
axis, at the root is, and the point is actually between the anus and the genital, either the male
Right.
or the female genitals, right there. Some people call it the taint. Okay.
Okay.
And then it goes up from the root to the sacral chakra. So the root chakra.
And let me say this right quick. And ain't nobody being sexual. We're talking about something scientific right now, but go on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Remember, we remember what age we're in. All that stuff that hiding is over. And so, yeah, that's the root. It grounds us. And we move up to the sacral chakra, which is at the place of the pubic bone.
Okay.
It has to do with creativity and sexuality. And they're not different. Sexuality or the sexual energy, remember everything is energy, is creativity. That's why you're like, oh my gosh, artists, they're so sensual, they're so sexual. No, they're just creative.
Right. And did it say that it's the navel where it's tied to the emotions? What part was tied to the emotions? I tried to read
We're
up on
going
it.
up to, right, and that's tied into creativity.
Right, because you
That's
need
your
to be
sacral. Then
able
you
to,
move up to the solar plexus.
yeah, you need to be
That's
able
the one we're
to
talking
draw out
about.
different emotions. Yeah, as an actor. Yeah.
Yes, right. That's your emotions. Then you move up to, which is at the navel area. Then you move up to your heart chakra. Okay, it's your ability to love and be loved.
Okay.
Then you move up to your throat chakra, being able to speak truth to power.
Right.
A lot of times when you feel stifled, the energy is something is wrong with the energy. You should have the feeling of being able to speak anything. And you notice authorities and a lot of things are set up in high places try to stifle your voice.
Right.
And that can affect your throat chakra, but that's your ability to speak truth and speak truth to power. You move up to your third eye. Third eye is being able to see clearly. You see right through the BS that people try to tell you.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's the right clairvoyance, being able to see clearly.
Right.
And that is initiated through your pituitary.
Okay.
Going up, then your crown chakra is your direct connection to divinity. And your realization that divine is you, that divine is everything around you, even in the rocks is part of everything is connected. So people say that you have to wake your chakras up. No, your chakras are always open. You can have blockages.
Okay.
The first 3 chakras is below the heart. And so in order to get to this, we call the divine chakras, everything has to be right. You're grounded,
Right.
And I'm thinking of names and arrests and people being taken away and stuff.
Oh, wow.
On television, like it happened today. But yeah, all of this stuff has to be, you're rooted. You're able to love. You're able to speak truth, and all of that. Before you can be able to have that clear vision and to be able to decipher things and have discernment for the good, of humanity. So all of those things we have, and guess what? As a melanated people, that's why I instituted the chakra system as one of the exercises, and to bring focus to it, because we as a people, as a melanated people, have always been highly spiritual. It's who we are.
Right.
And it's because we came, you said later, we ain't a copy, we're not a carbon copy, we have no degradation, we're the real McCoy.
We're the original people. Let's get that
It's
straight.
in us.
Okay.
You wonder how can a people, it's who we are. Excel at athletics, excel at mathematics, excel in science, because that's passed down from our DNA. That's why we call on our ancestors, and that's why we honor them, because we are the continuation. We're their wildest dream, and when we call on that ancestors,
some of us are. But go on.
There's a consistency, right, that happens. They come to our guide. You guys are spirit guides. They come to us and aid us.
Right.
It's just like, what example can I give you? When someone screams your name, something excites, you feel this unction. Yeah. It's the same thing when we call, because first of all, energy does not die.
Right.
When we leave this earth, our ethereal bodies or our light bodies, they continue to exist.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah, so energy doesn't die. It moves, it changes form, but it doesn't die.
Yeah.
And so that's why we call on our ancestors. There's a quickening that happens, and we're aided in that. We're aided in that, and when you're not alone. When you go to sleep, you feel that you're not alone. And some people have you feel some more than others feel the sense of presence other than themselves. In a room or in spaces as they walk. And so, we segue into soul vibrations. When we do the soul vibrations, which is a tech, it's more of a master class or workshop that I developed.
And you said
the idea that we are divinity. Say again.
And you said that it works for live stage, the big screen, or the small screen performances. Right.
So initially, I developed it as a movement class for actors with the point of view of metaphysics. And so the simple definition of metaphysics is the underlying meaning. It's the underlying meaning of everything. Okay, so you have a definition of something, but there's something deeper. There's an underlying meaning behind everything. And as an actor, so it's for actors, directors, anyone that takes to the stage, the world stage, and that be it on the screen, video, whatever, but knowing your place and your importance as a divine person, as divinity, having a human experience, what you bring when you call people to gather into a space, right? And so being trained in theater, some of the things that we do, they didn't tell us the meaning of it, but there are certain exercises, like when you walk into a space, and I always revert back to dance because that was my first training.
Right.
We're taught to walk the stage, just the entire stage, to get a feel of it, And so fast forward, that translates.
We're told to do that too as actors. To walk
as an actor,
stage,
right? Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Walk your area. So I moved that out too. I will have my actors come and walk not only the stage, but I will have them to go into the wings, the dressing rooms, even out into the audience.
Right.
And get a feel of it, and scan, get a mental scan of the entire area that they will travel when performance happens. And one of the exercises we do is when that happens, we'll come back and we'll go into meditation, have them close their eyes, and I ask them to visualize the area that you just walked.
Okay.
And it's easy. We can all, most of us can do that, to visualize. so there's visualization in that technique as well, which are powerful tools. People have TED Talks about visualization, right? And so what
Right.
happens, the metaphysical of that is that you ever heard of astral projection or astral travel?
I have. Yes.
It's when you leave your physical body and you go out. And I mean, there's no boundaries because we're not in our physical body.
It, you know, it made me think of something when you said that.
Out
I
of
was
body experiences and when you have dreams.
well, I was awake at this time, man, because it was one of my performances when I was in Ain't Misbehaving back in 2018, and I had a lot of friends coming that night. Almost every performance was sold out, but a lot of my friends, personal friends, were coming that night, and I felt great until 5 minutes before curtain. And this feeling just came over me. See, a lot of people think that depression just means sitting around being sad all the time, but that's not what depression is. Sometimes it just comes out of nowhere when you be fine. So 5 minutes before I was supposed to go on stage, this feeling just came over me, and I just felt blah all of a sudden. Right? I was feeling great. I went out on the stage and performed Ain't Misbehaving, but I felt like I wasn't in my body at the time. That one performance. Well, I did 7 performances in that play, 7. But this one performance, I felt like I was outside of my body, like I was in the audience watching myself, you know, critiquing myself.
Yeah, and so
uh,
people think it's woo, but it's not. We're not. I believe very much so that we exist in a in multi realms, not just what you see. And we're not far from that.
Because here I
being reminded that we are spirits having a human experience, right?
Here I am. I'm on stage, physically singing and dancing and ain't misbehaving, but I don't feel like I'm in my body. I didn't feel like I was in my body at that moment for the whole show. And I was apologizing to the director afterwards. I was like, I know I had to be horrible tonight. I didn't even feel like I was there. And he said, no, this was one of your greater performances, he said, right?
And that's what I was going to say. So you transcended. And that's what we do a lot of times as artists, because we have that extra sensitivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You hit the nail on the head. You transcend what the energy that you put out in rehearsal and up until that point, and then where you just coast, you just sail. But we're able to obtain that level of depth in our performance abilities. Mm-hmm. And I said earlier, it's God expressing himself.
Right.
People's lives are changed when they go to see shows.
Yeah.
Even drag shows. I had to put that out there because, a lot of people are under attack.
Mm-hmm.
But first shall be last and last shall be first. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do a lot of those exercises and being able to focus, bring our energy to a place where we can now transcend and have the effect of every single person in the audience. So that's what Soul Vibrations is about. And remembering the power that our melanin as people, or as melanated people, that the natural ability that has been stifled.
Right.
But when we can rise above everything, and I wanted to say what I thought when I was walking around earlier, is that we have to move into a space of non-judgmentalism, mm-hmm. and realizing that we are part of the universe, like literally everything, everybody, and that will dispel racism and a whole lot of stuff that we just have to fight and struggle with every day. And
well, you know what?
like the universe will take care of itself.
Well,
but knowing our power, right? And a lot of us, we don't know the power that we hold in this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't even fight racism personally anymore. I don't fight racism because we didn't create it. And I feel like it's a waste of energy because, quite frankly, there are some people who are never going to stop being racist, and they will fight to the death to hold on to that. So I don't use my energy to fight racism. I use my energy and my artistry to empower Black people, to get us to love ourselves, because that's where our power is, and loving ourselves and not worrying about being accepted by someone else outside of us. Ashe. Definitely.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, but that's what it's about. So we do guided meditation, the body scans. We scan our areas. Like I said, the chakra balancing, and then we get up and move. Because we now have to put word motivation. We have to put our knowledge into action. All the things that we've obtained over the years, the honing our craft and our gift. And now we realize that now we're priests in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And you ever heard your director say, find your light, find the light?
Yeah.
We are the light.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I know.
How about that?
I be trying to tell our people, they be think I'm being blasphemous when I say we're gods and goddesses and stuff like that.
We are that light. We are the
light. I get tired of arguing with people, and myself, I have had the honor of portraying a few ancestors. I portrayed Malcolm X, who I refer to as my honorary granddaddy, Minister Malcolm X. I portrayed Marvin Gaye, like I said, in like a local play or whatever, and I portrayed Langston Hughes before, Alex Haley, who wrote Roots, and also the autobiography of Malcolm X, Jackie Robinson, the baseball player, and I've also recently portrayed Otis Redding. And when I portray these people, these icons, these ancestors, I communicate with them and talk to them about how that I'm doing them justice when I'm portraying them, and they do communicate back with me. I feel Malcolm's presence every time I portray him, and I think a lot like him anyway. So I already think a lot like him. When I portrayed Otis Redding recently,
you said Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley. I said Otis Redding.
You.
Huh?
Okay. I'm here. Can you froze for just 1 second?
Huh?
Yeah. Your video froze for a second.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now you get a little fuzzy. Okay, sit back. There you go. Because when you stood up, I couldn't see you. But no, I said I portrayed Malcolm X several times. I portrayed Marvin Gaye. I portrayed Jackie Robinson, the baseball player, Alex Haley, Langston Hughes, and also Otis Redding. Now, I don't naturally sound anything like Otis Redding. My singing voice is more smooth. Otis Redding has a raspy voice. But when I put in the work, though. I studied his voice. I listened to him closely. I had on my earphones, listening to his voice and listening to his tone and his inflections. And I was able to transform my voice to sound very close to his. And when I played him back in July and back in this past December, there were older people in the audience who came to the show who had seen him perform before live. And they were calling me Otis and saying that I sounded like him because I did my homework. Because I believe when I'm portraying someone, when I'm portraying one of our great ancestors, I don't want to get up there and sound like myself singing their song. So I transformed my voice into sounding like him. I played Marvin Gaye, and I kind of sound like him anyway a little bit sometimes. Marvin, but not Otis. And then when I played Langston Hughes, I found recordings of his voice, right? of Langston Hughes speaking,
Langston.
and I found recordings of him speaking, and I, was able to do his voice, his speaking voice. I don't get up there and portray someone just talking in my regular voice. I actually try to become, the character, or whatever. So, did you want to say anything more about the soul vibrations before we sign off? This has been a very enlightening conversation, a very good conversation, and a
Yeah,
fun
absolutely.
conversation.
No, but I think it's it's happening right now. Black
Yeah.
actors in
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood are, I feel so inspired, and what's happening right now in in theater as a whole, because it's just a beautiful thing, and I would be, I guess,
Sit
remiss
back,
without saying that
sit back a little bit again because you keep.
it has been our struggle. It has been our struggle
Okay. Mm-hmm.
from the beginning to make a place. But in the process of making a space for us, we made a better space for everyone. Like that has
Right.
come out of our processes.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to remember that. And I think more so, my ministry, voice, whatever, is always going to be to the arts, because that's the space where I am. You know, it's important
Same
that we
here because
remember our
that,
purpose.
that
And
would.
I think that's the key, is remembering, that we're not just merely players on the stage. We have
Right.
we have a lot of
It's a
purpose.
lot of
Whether it's, and
purpose.
if the role is small, if it's a supporting role or a big one, every energy should be the same going into it. The lesser role is as important as a greater role.
Someone
And
said
so I remind,
thank you.
my
Someone said
my
thank
people of that.
you. Someone said thank you for the knowledge you shared. They thank you for
Oh,
the
I
knowledge that you
say
shared. They learned something they didn't know. Yeah, I
great.
say, oh, if you don't know what that means, that's a Yoruba word, meaning basically, let it be so, or like an amen, so to speak.
Yeah,
That's what
so
that
be it.
means. I say,
Yeah.
yeah, so be it. Definitely. And I was going to say something else, but it's a lot going on. Oh, yeah. We as artists, I mean, it's something that was born in me. Like I said, I've known since I was a child that music and theater and all that was in me as a child. That's what God put in me. That's what the ancestors put in me. And growing up, I just wanted to, do my thing. But then as things started to happen, as I started to experience life and see things and experience things, going through police brutality, or just existing in my skin and dealing with other crazy racists who tried to take my life for being black and stuff like that, and seeing what goes on with our people on a daily basis in this society. um, I felt like I couldn't just throw just anything out there as an artist. So I'm very
Mm.
intentional in what I write. I'm very intentional to use my artistry to empower our people and to show us loving ourselves and loving each other as a people. I don't focus on yeah, I mean, I know you got to show the dysfunction sometimes because dysfunction is a part of life. But my problem is there's not a balance. There's too much
Mm.
dysfunction and not more of the positive portrayals. Um, and they focus on the dysfunction and never try to bring it to a healing point, if you know what I mean.
Mm.
So we stay in the dysfunction. Like we complain about drugs and all that kind of stuff and what it's done to our community, but we always have these movies and films that glamorize that life, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm,
Um,
I'm very responsible for what I put out there.
I,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's right. And we have to be responsible. We have, like I said, we have a responsibility, to, and some of that, it entails showing the whole picture, you know, but, in making an evening out the playing field, like, yeah, it's
Hmm.
been, and we
Yeah.
know that, we know how, the blacks were portrayed in the movies back in the 30s or 40s,
Hmm.
and it was, yeah, but
Yeah.
we're a great people, and but more so a people with a purpose.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I do believe that too much is given, much is required.
Yeah.
So, and that comes with
Very true.
responsibility, like you said. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
but if I would like to say that if anyone's interested in
Soul Vibration.
in having these workshops,
Mm-hmm.
I'm available. You can contact me on my Instagram. It's which one of those Instagrams? I am G Carlos, I think. I am G
I am G
Carlos too.
Carlos. Yeah.
Yeah. My Facebook is G Carlos. Oh my
You got a couple
goodness,
of
I
them.
should know these
Yeah.
things. G Carlos Henderson, actor, fan page, or something like that.
Right.
I'm so bad. I'm so bad about it. Or I am gcarlos2 at gmail.com. How
There
about that?
you have it. I am G Carlos
I'll
2
check them out.
at
Yes, I will write you back.
gmail.com. And you recently called me in on the project, which I'm very happy about. And I'm
I
looking forward to
did.
see what's coming with that.
Yeah, so I'm editing this play. It will be a world premiere
Did he get
based
back
on the
to you
last
with the
7 words of
rewrite?
Christ.
Did he get back to you with the rewrite yet?
No.
Okay.
We're still in rewriting, but we're
I know that's
looking
going to
to
take some
do this
time.
next, April.
You mean a read through? Another read through?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we need funding and all of that good stuff too. So that's what we're at. Yeah.
All right, y'all heard it here. Well, I look forward to that to see where we're going to go with it. Definitely.
Yes.
And thank you for coming on the C Note. And I definitely will be having you back on here again. This has been a great conversation. And I thank the people that watched it. This is going to be here on Instagram. It's also going to be on the C Note Facebook page. And it'll also be on the C Note YouTube channel as well. So this episode will be with the rest of the episodes in those three places: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, where people can find it. And as soon as I get it uploaded to YouTube and Facebook, I'll let you know as well. So you can share it if you want to as well.
Great.
But thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, brother, for having me.
All right, of course, and thank you. Thank you for being the great person that you are. And God bless
Blessings.
you. All right. Bye.
Blessings.
Bye. Blessings. Trying to get this thing. There you go. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, y'all. Love y'all now. How do you get this thing off now? This thing went that crazy. Mm. Okay. Here we go. All right. Oh. Hey, y'all. I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing off. It's over now. So, okay. Okay. So make sure I'm still going to save this thing. All right. Okay. Okay. Trying to get this thing right. Oh, something's going on with this Instagram. Uh, 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 uh. It says